Torah without the root of God. You tell me how that's possible. Except it be a false dimensional religion that is not God. Hello, everyone. A little bit of technical difficulty there. That thing wanted to play again. Okay, good to be with you all. It seems like Friday for some reason. Today it seemed like Friday so far to me. And, of course, I can't even remember what days it is unless somebody tells me. But it just feels like a Friday. I don't know why, but it does. Maybe so much has been going on this week and I've been so doggone busy until it just seems like the week ought to be just about to wrap up so we can have a Sabbath and a day of rest. But in any event, work must go on. Research must go on. Prayer must go on. And standing against evil never quits. So good to be with you all. Good to see Mark, C.S. Rivers, Mr. Bob, the guest 4019, and all the rest that may come in later. Tell them I said hey because I got to get started here and rock and roll. Let's go ahead and cover, if we may, let's go ahead and cover an update on Mr. George Zimmerman. You know, they've come out and they've said that, the Panther Party, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, Barack Obama, a lot of politicians, there's a lot of people on the street that come out and said he's a murderous thug, talking about George Zimmerman, and this was a racially motivated murder rather than self-defense. So let me give you a little article here. And even mainstream media is covering this. They can't hide it any longer. They've tried to hide it as long as they could. Of course, a guy, I won't get into it, but a guy from Miami, a journalist, just got fired for editing stuff and lying and taking out stuff about George Zimmerman then when he should have told the whole story. And in my humble opinion, most, not all, but most, well, I'll say this, every mainstream media journalist is not worth their weight in salt, let alone gold anymore, because, see, they're paid to feed the masses, the dumbed-down sheep, and therefore if they told the truth, well, most of them wouldn't know the truth if it slapped them in the face, but if they told the truth, they would lose their job. That's the way the system's set up, run by the banksters, the Illuminati, and the Club of Rome, the Bilderbergs, and you name it, okay? There's a few groups that control most of the sheeple in America and across the globe. But I digress from that. You can look it up. Miami guy gets fired, journalists get fired for editing out some stuff. But let's get on to the man named George Zimmerman, okay? When the Trayvon Martin case first started, and it was garnering national attention, there were many that thought they knew George Zimmerman and who he was. They thought he was an overzealous racist with a vendetta against young black men, and that's what was portrayed, exactly. That's what was portrayed, that he was an overzealous guy, that he was a racist and he hated all young black guys and everything else, and that his mission was to assert power with his gun, and he was a vigilante, and everything that was presented to be bad was George Zimmerman. But guess what? The covers are being jerked back, and the real deal is being portrayed for what it is because they cannot hide it any longer. But there are details that are starting to emerge, such as, remember, it was ABC and NBC that kept his head from being bloody by editing it out. You can do a lot of stuff with technology today. It doesn't make it right, doesn't make it true, but you can hide a lot of stuff. But, God said those things done in the darkness shall be brought into the light. And we see this is the case in terms of George Zimmerman. Slowly it's coming, but nevertheless it is coming. And even CNN backtracked and said the tape that, once suggested Zimmerman uttered a racist slur was actually what? That he was simply saying it was cold. Yep, buddy. Now, guess what? Reuters has put together, or Reuters, a detailed profile. Not all of Zimmerman, but they have come out. Actually, state-controlled media has come out and did a profile of Zimmerman that seems to suggest that he was simply a concerned citizen that was trying to help fix his community, and those in it reeling from a recent crime spree. He was a compassionate neighbor, it seems, not a lunatic with a gun. During the time Zimmerman was in hiding, his detractors defined him as a vigilante that decided Martin was suspicious, and because he was black, that he needed to be took out. That is exactly how that they have betrayed Zimmerman up to this point. Oh, but what a tangled web they weave when they choose to deceive. Now, see, here's the thing. If there's any logical thinkers out there, after they find this out today, if there are any logical and critical thinkers, how in the name of God can they in good conscience, turn back on CNN, ABC, NBC, and all the rest of these state-controlled Nazi media organizations? How can they turn it back on after the facts begin to roll themselves out on the red carpet? How can the American people even think about trusting them? They can't trust them in a doo-doo house with a muzzle on. You see? It doesn't matter how many boob jobs the gals have had. It doesn't matter how many facelifts and tummy tucks the guys have had. They still are a bunch of corrupt, devilish, beastly, ungodly liars. Tell them I said so. Anyway, but if you look at what I'm fixing to say here, you're going to have to decide for yourself and say, wow. And, of course, you that are listening now, you know the truth. You know the truth or you wouldn't be here. But it talks about that you know, he was like a vigilante portrayed on the news. And then Zimmerman was finally arrested on a charge of second-degree murder more than 6 weeks after the shooting. Prosecutors portrayed him as a violent, angry man who disregarded authority. See, even that stupid woman prosecutor, she said that this was not because of the blacks that were demanding him be arrested. That's a bald-faced lie. They would not have waited 6 weeks to arrest the guy, but I got to digress and move on. They're all a bunch of liars is what they are, okay? Anyway, so what does this show? For starters, you ready for this? For starters, it was an animal control officer who told George Zimmerman that he should get a gun after a pit bull was menacing him and his wife, coming after him more than one occasion. But, oh yeah, absolutely. He was told by animal control to get him a flipping pistol because he kept having to call animal control about a wild pit bull that some neighbor had or somebody had that was menacing him and his wife. His friends, however, never knew that he had the firearm until about 2 months ago. Reuter says he was raised in a, check this out, racially integrated household, and himself has black roots throughout African, Peruvian, great-grandfather, maternal grandmother who helped raise him. How about that? Now let's move on. Now the Business Insider put together chronological bullet points, pardon the pun, there's no pun there, highlighting the article's most important points. Now check this out. You ready for this? Zimmerman grew up in a mixed racial household. Bingo. He was an altar boy at his Catholic church from 7 to 17. Now, that don't necessarily mean nothing. You can ask Wires that's in here. He used to be Catholic. But anyway, I digress. I've got to move on. After he finished high school, he studied and got a degree in an insurance license. In 2004, Zimmerman and a black friend opened Allstate Insurance office. It failed. But that's okay. The guy tried. But he and a black friend opened an insurance office. Well, why would a racist want to open an insurance office with a black guy? I don't know, other than he's not racist, okay? Now, and then we do see that during Zimmerman's life, he did have an arrest. Well, big deal. We've all had our problems during our life. Everybody ain't walking around with halo and angel wings on, you know, like the politicians and the mainstream media is. So some of us have made mistakes in our life, but it says that Zimmerman had an arrest. He was resisting arrest. And it was quoted a battery of an officer. He was sitting there at a bar with another friend, and an undercover agent was going to arrest his friend, okay? He didn't know what was going on, basically, at the time. Zimmerman married his wife, Shelley, in 2007. They rented a house in Twin Lakes. Twin Lakes is 50% white, 20% Hispanic, and 20% black. Why would he have wanted to move in a neighborhood with, if he's such a racist and a white supremacist, why would he have wanted to move into that neighborhood with the blacks and with the Hispanics? Why would he have not have found him a KKK tent to live in if he's such a racist? Let me move on. Okay, and now in fall of 2009, Zimmerman enrolled in Seminole State College. Now in the fall, it says a pit bull broke free twice and cornered Shelley in the Zimmerman's yard. Wait a minute. pit bull corners my wife twice? You better know. And by the way, I wouldn't need animal control to come out and tell me I need to buy me a weapon to protect myself from a pit bull. I'd have shot that son gun between the eyes and drug him out to the street and put a sign on him just like they did the horse thieves back then and said, now go get you something else that won't corner my wife. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, it says that George Zimmerman asked a police officer whether he should buy pepper spray, and the cop told him pepper spray is not enough. Pepper spray is not enough. You see what I'm saying? And yeah, I don't just go around shooting dogs. I love dogs. But what I'm saying, if you got a pit bull that's out of control, and don't you remember the story of the woman that was going upstairs, beautiful young lady, and whether it's an ugly woman or a pretty woman, it don't matter, but I'm just simply saying and portraying that, that she had her whole life ahead of her and everything. She had groceries, and she was going up to her apartment, this was a few years back, and a frickin' pit bull got loose, chewed her all to frickin' pieces and killed her. You see what I'm saying? I mean, if you got to protect yourself, you got to protect yourself. That's the whole point I'm trying to make here. Absolutely, I love dogs. I mean, but if you got a rabid one over there that is hell-bent on chewing my wife up, forget about it. You're going to have to buy you another dog. Anyway, but he told him pepper spray wouldn't do. Recommended that he get a weapon, a gun. So he got him a pistol, presumably. And by the summer of 2011, listen to this, Twin Lakes was experiencing a rash of burglaries and break-ins in several of the cases. Witnesses said, guess what? All the robbers were young black men. So in July 2011, a black teenager stole a bicycle off Zimmerman's porch. August 2011, a neighbor of the Zimmermans, Olivia Bertanian, was home during the day when two black young men entered her flipping house. She hid in a room upstairs and called the police. When the police arrived, the two men who had been trying to take a TV fled. Well, I guess the cops had too many donuts and couldn't get them. But anyway, I'll digress. Now, one of them actually ran through Zimmerman's yard. After the break-in, George Zimmerman stopped by the lady's house and gave Olivia a card with his name and number on it. He told her to visit his wife, Shelley, if she felt unsafe. The police recommended that she get a dog. She moved away instead. They run her out of the frickin' neighborhood, see. Out of the daggum neighborhood, Zimmerman got a second dog. He got him a Rottweiler. In September, several concerned residents in the neighborhood, including Zimmerman, asked the neighborhood association to create a neighborhood watch. Guess what? They all asked neighborhood guy Zimmerman to run it, the neighborhood watch. Amen? So in any event, in the next month, 2 more houses in the neighborhood were robbed. Community newsletter reminded residents to report any crime to the police and call George Zimmerman the captain of the neighborhood watch, you see. On February the 2nd, 2012, Zimmerman spotted a young black man looking into the windows of a neighbor's empty house. He called police and said, I don't know what he's doing. I don't want to approach him personally. The police sent a car. By the time they arrived, guess what? The black young teenager was gone. Okay, now, listen to this. On February the 6th, another house was burglarized. Witnesses said 2 of the robbers were black teenagers. One who had prior burglary convictions. Wow, I wonder why he was out and was out there. Wonder. And was soon caught with a stolen laptop from the house. How about that? 2 weeks later, Zimmerman spotted Trayvon Martin and called the police. The last time he did this, the suspects got away. So this time he disregarded police instructions and followed him. A few minutes later, guess what? Trayvon Martin lay there dead after he was beating George Zimmerman's head against the concrete. George Zimmerman defended himself. Is George Zimmerman just an angry racist? But could it be that George Zimmerman was doing his duty as a citizen and as a neighborhood watch volunteer, not getting paid, but putting his life on the line so that others could be in their community and feel safe because they could not depend upon the police, so they depended upon each other as neighbors? I simply ask you that. He simply defended himself. You see, what we got to understand, and I've said this before, and I want to make it real clear on this show again. I want to make it real clear. I don't believe George Zimmerman's a racist, and I dang sure ain't one. But the fact of the business remains, it's kind of like this, okay? Now check this out. About 23 deer down at the bottom at the conservation land down there. A lot of it's